Ah, that's right. Dad building boy on sled.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of you were here last Friday. So I'm just gonna jump straight to the force diagram here.
There you go.
So 1 foot's on the ground.
Ooh, I forgot about that part.
All right. Who's feeling really confident?
Mostly confident. I mean, very confident.
You're feeling very confident.
I know where gravity
Do
is.
you want me to do like one letter and then we'll like switch it
Sure, sounds good. Give me a letter.
Let's see. I'll do gravity. Play it safe.
Okay.
So, there's a force, I labeled it like 1, 2, and 3. So weight 1, I had it between the sled and the ground. It's pulling down on the sled and then up on the ground.
Okay, I'm gonna change subscripts on you.
Okay. Oh yeah, W sled. And then, W boy would be down on the boy and up on the ground. And then W dad would be down on dad, up on the ground.
And the roof?
There shouldn't be any ground
Weight off the roof, I'm talking about. Why not?
because it's ideal.
Right, all right. Amy, you're going for the next one?
Oh, I was gonna say tension.
Where's tension napkin on what?
It's like on the sled and the rope, they're going, like, wait.
Okay, based on the finger gesture,
I think.
so you're doing like that, or do you want me to straighten them out more?
Like that.
Right, you're good with this?
Yeah, and then like the same thing with like the rope and the dad, and the arms.
Like that?
Yeah.
Say it with much more confidence.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, it is that. The biggest mistake I've seen on this is people drawing it like this, pointing it, pointing them to each other, and it's not that. It's, again, it's just the way I've drawn the separated diagrams. They are parallel to the roof. All right, so tension, done.
I'll be bold and go for friction.
Oh.
I'm gonna come back to you on friction. I'm gonna do friction last.
Okay.
Normal
Okay?
is, oh my gosh, it's up on the dad at his foot, and then it's, well, yeah, you could put it where, but, and then it's down on, the ground. And then it's,
This is the force right here that leaves footprints.
okay.
All right.
It's, up on the sled, down on the ground, and then down on the ground as well for the boy and up on the boy. Or no, up on the boy and then down on the sled, sorry. I didn't have it written down, I just changed my
subscripts here. All right, there we go. Any other contact between anything? That's it. Right, before we do friction, anybody want to do other?
There is no
There
other.
is
No
no
other.
other, right?
All right, okay. Some of you have gotten some easy points right there just by saying, hey, no other. Anna, you said you were willing to go for friction.
I am willing.
Go for it, all right.
So, I may be wrong, but I have decided there are 2 different friction forces and not 3. So there should be friction between the sled and the ground.
Okay.
Since the sled is moving towards the right, the friction force on the sled should be pointing towards the left, and the opposite
So
direction.
friction force on the sled is to the left?
Yes.
That's true, okay.
And then the opposite direction on the ground. And then I also put it on the dad's foot and decided because he is moving forward, the foot is pressing backwards to propel him forward. So I put friction force on the dad's foot pointing towards the right, and towards the left on the ground below the foot. And I debated about the child on the sled and decided there shouldn't be friction because hopefully the child is not moving, in any direction on the sled.
But what else is keeping him on there? Cause he is moving, assuming they are moving that way, cause we have the acceleration and then the arrow, there has to be something keeping him on the sled, cause if the sled was frictionless, then he'd just slide off.
Perhaps, but like, if you're in a car, the reason that you're staying in your seat in the car isn't due to friction. Except maybe initially when you are like going from not moving to moving, there would be a friction force, but in theory, they're staying at the same.
What was the condition I threw in? After I drew the diagram, there was another condition that I threw in, which would actually resolve that issue that you just mentioned.
I thought the only one you said was there's only 1 foot on the ground for the dad.
Yeah. You
'Cause
also
that's the
said
only
that
one I
the
wrote
boys
down.
and stuff.
I didn't have anything else, but I might have missed it.
Ah, no, you do have it written down right there.
Oh,
And what part did it say? I missed it, but.
The
What-
boy is a separate object, is that it?
No, not the boy's a separate object, because I
Yeah.
drew him separate here.
it says, well, I don't remember what it was, but it says A is to the right.
Yeah, what does that mean?
That means we're accelerating to the right.
Yes.
Right.
So the question is the boy accelerating to the right also?
No.
Yes, but with this,
The intent was that he was.
Okay.
he is at the same rate as the sled, hopefully.
Yes.
And the tension force from the dad is being applied to the sled.
Yes. So,
Um,
we can do a quick little demo here.
I think you'd be right if they weren't accelerating. Like if they were at a constant velocity, then the boy would be moving at the same speed as the sled, so it wouldn't.
Sled,
It wouldn't.
boy.
That makes sense.
So if this accelerates, the boy would have stayed behind if he didn't accelerate with the paper. So there has to be some force acting on the boy.
To keep him there. Okay.
To Ian's question though, if there were no acceleration, they were moving at a constant velocity, would that,
Then there'd be no then there'd be no friction on the boy. In our nice ideal, the sled is being pulled horizontally and ignoring the bumps of reality.
I think, I don't know, the way that I thought about it was exactly how you showed it. Like if you were in a car with no seat, well, if you were on like glass and it was wet and suddenly the glass started just sliding this way, you're not gonna go with it, you're gonna like stay where you are.
Right,
So,
cause you don't have acceleration.
I guess I wasn't picturing the dad pulling the sled that quickly. But I guess moving, if they are accelerating at all, then there has to be some force that keeps the boy on the sled.
Yeah, accelerating with the sled.
Right.
So the frictions that are up there, anyone wanna just go, Anna, what were you thinking?
No, she's got it. Unless the foot thing is wrong, I didn't get that.
Yeah, I was
I went back
confused
and forth about the foot.
about the foot, which direction the friction on the foot should go.
Yeah,
Because-
can you say what you said again?
Well, my rationale is that the entire person is moving towards the right, and I did debate this, and I accept I may be wrong.
It was moving back.
But the foot is pressing in the opposite direction in
Yeah.
order to propel his body that way.
Yeah, the relative movement of the foot itself is back.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
All right. And yeah, that is the exact thinking that I was hoping for. A quick demonstration, and by the way, if you ever work for, say, DuPont, for example, don't ever do this. All right, so as I'm walking, there's friction between my foot and the paper. So as I walk, my back foot is kicking backwards. So it is indeed the relative motion of the foot to the ground, because that's where the friction is acting. One of the reasons why I had only 1 foot touching the ground there. Because if you think about it, my back foot is pushing backwards, so my friction's acting this way on my back foot. My front foot, when it lands, if this were ice, my front foot would go sliding out from underneath me. And so friction's acting this way on my front foot, and that way on my back foot. And then you get to a point where there's going to be a transition, there's no friction acting on my foot, and then friction starts flipping back the other way. So front foot, friction's acting, once applied that way, friction's acting this way on the front foot, no friction on the front foot, friction to the, once I pass over my foot, friction's acting that way on the foot.
So did we have it right?
Yes, that is right. And so that's a test level problem. Although if I probably did boy on sled, I'd throw a box between the boy and the sled also.
So wouldn't our friction between the sled and the ground be different? Or,
No, because the sled's not moving backwards, it's moving forwards. Like, it's not propelling, right? Because it's like.
Friction opposes desired relative motion, so relative to the ground.
right,
Which way is the sled going?
it's going to the, well, your left, my right.
Yeah, so friction's gonna be acting,
Yeah.
friction
okay.
opposes that. And here, from that point of view of boy on sled, so sled's moving off to your right, this is the boy. If it were frictionless, the boy would stay right there and the sled would come out from underneath him. So relative to the sled, the boy wants to move backwards relative to the sled. Friction opposes that and is in the opposite. That's why I say desired relative motion. It's always relative to what it is touching or what the object is touching. All right. I think we're ready for full drawn problem.
That's the name?
Pardon?
I said that's the name, full drawn problem.
Is this not the full?
Or a
Yeah, that's.
full blown problem. We'll do the full facades again, this time officially getting into it.
All right.
Since we've already done where we didn't have to break anything up, we'll break some stuff up. Box on ramp.
Can't be.
Or as one textbook, I think it was a textbook, hamster on ramp. All right, so
Is this an earthen ramp, or is this a separated?
we will assume that the ramp is not going to move at all relative to the earth, and so we're just going to treat it as part of the earth. We have done the course diagram already, but as a matter of practice, this is the process we're going through. First thing is the force diagram. And preferably without looking at your notes, let's just run through it.
Gravity on the box and the, nope.
Let's work on the language.
All right, acceleration due to gravity, no?
We're doing
Force due to
forces.
gravity.
Thank you. Otherwise known as, yeah, all right. Which way is it acting on the box?
Just straight down.
All right.
You know, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm just cycling through them until you give me the, almost like a thumbs up look.
And then there's a normal force acting diagonally, on the box and then on the ground. There's no tension, there's no other. But we do have friction.
The friction on the box should be pointing up the ramp and should be pointing down the ramp.
All right.
Booyah.
So in a question like this, the question is usually what is the acceleration of the box? And so we have the forces on the box. We really don't need the ramp at this point. So this is what we're concentrating on right here. So we have done the force diagram. Which way will this box accelerate?
Down to the right. Down the ramp, assuming all of the vectors, like the net force of all the vectors is in. What am I trying to say?
They're not 0.
Yeah,
So it's not 0? Is that what you,
if the net, wait,
Yeah, assuming all the vectors don't add up into 0 or equilibrium.
if I added these 3 vectors up and it added up to 0, what would it look like?
it would just
They would
stay
sit
still.
still.
What would the drawing look like if I added them up?
Your friction force would be pretty massive going in this direction to compensate for.
Are you saying
You're
add the
trying-
vectors head to tail?
Thank you. One of you knows what I'm talking about.
A tri, oh, a tri, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the answer you're looking
Okay.
for.
Yeah, you're getting all fancy there.
I was reaching so far.
Alright, so my acceleration is down the ramp, so that's the acceleration piece of it. Coordinate axes. We want one of the equations of motion to be equal to 0, so we want one of our coordinates, the I hat, or j hat, whatever your preference is, so I'm gonna go with I hat in the direction of acceleration. And then j hat perpendicular to that. It really does not matter if j hat is pointing away from the ramp or towards the ramp. Out of habit, I go away from the ramp, but it does not matter. We could make I hat up the ramp, but that adds an extra layer of unnecessary stuff. I think that's the official physics term. Coordinate axes, done. Decomposition. Are any of these forces not in the positive or negative I hat, or not in the positive or negative j hat?
Wait.
No, they're all in positive or negative directions.
I don't know how weight would be in either of those directions.
Oh,
It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
weight was what I was going for there.
okay.
That it need, I'm talking, it is parallel to
Parallel, yeah.
I hat or parallel to j hat. Alright, so weight we need to break up. So we're gonna leave y and f by themselves for now, and weight. So part of the weight is down the ramp, part of the weight is into the ramp. Whenever I bring a vector up, the one I'm breaking up is the hypotenuse, and so I'm gonna create a right triangle here. There's my weight. And I need to figure out how much is in the I hat direction, how much is in the, what will be the negative j hat direction.
That's a right triangle.
That is a right triangle, because these are at a right angle to each other. These are perpendicular to each other. If I hat and j hat are not perpendicular to each other, then you're making a whole lot of extra work for yourself.
Yeah.
Avoid that. So the question is, I have this angle down here of theta. One of these two angles here is theta. Which one?
It's the top one, because it's like opposite.
Well, let's check that out, see if that's true. There are a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to do a couple different approaches here, and just pick the one that you like the best. Now, when I draw my angles, I almost always draw them somewhere around 45 degrees, no matter whether it's 45 degrees or not. It's just childhood scars. Weight is acting straight down like that. This angle here is theta, and I'm breaking this up into perpendicular components. So this triangle right here is this triangle right there.
Just like flipped.
Weight is acting straight down, so that's a right angle there. If this is theta, so looking at the bigger triangle here, if this is theta, what is this angle here?
theta prime?
Generally the way I label it, the complement.
Yeah,
Now let's look at the smaller triangle. What is this angle here?
theta, I don't know what the two
It's
particular
just
is.
theta, right?
50
Yeah.
theta.
Okay,
If this is 90 minus theta, then this would be 90 minus theta, or theta.
Yeah, because that's a right angle right there, and then if you have to add theta prime to this bottom triangle in order to get 180. So it's like flipped.
So this angle here is theta, so this is the opposite, so this is W sine of theta, and this would be W cosine of theta.
I apologize, I don't know how we got from theta on the ramp to applying it to this triangle here with weight.
Yeah, you.
Alright, so weight is acting straight down, so I was looking at this big triangle right here, where I have one thing that's acting straight down, that's gonna ultimately translate into weight. Theta's in the lower right-hand corner.
I see, okay, okay, got it.
Brooke, looks like you're about to ask a question.
I think I got it. That helps, you moving this box over here. Cause I was like, where is that? Where? Okay, I think I got it.
Alright, biggest mistake I see students make, actually the two mistakes I see students make. One, they somehow drop W and just make this sine of theta and cosine of theta.
That gives you another angle, doesn't it?
Sine of theta and cosine theta is just a ratio.
Yeah.
It's unitless. You have to multiply it by some force. The other mistake is when they break it up, do not do the following. And so that would make this W over sine of theta, and this is W times the cotangent of theta. Yep. So whatever you're breaking up is the hypotenuse. This is definitely not the hypotenuse. This is the wrong approach.
That's just if you put your angle in the wrong spot, right?
Yep. And, well,
Weird.
not just staying on the wrong spot, but you have, it's the wrong triangle that you're breaking up.
Wait, so weight is or it isn't the hypotenuse? It should be the hypotenuse.
It should be.
Yeah.
Weight is not the hypotenuse in this mistake.
Okay.
I guess the other mistake is people getting sines and cosines backwards.
That's just gonna happen for me regardless. Like, I have to think about it in an extra step.
There's a rotational, a centripetal motion problem where if you get sine and cosine backwards in one spot, that's gonna make the problem incredibly difficult to solve. But if you do it right, cosine cancels out very nicely and you're left with really easy math.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah. All right, so if I'm given the lower right-hand corner for any for a ramp, if I'm giving the angle with respect to the horizontal,